So you've built a course. Now I'm going to take you through how to share it and make it available. And the kind of decisions you're going to be making is what you're tracking. Are you delivering it in an LMS? Is security important? And are you going to deliver it through VidVersity? So let me show you how to set up the different choices. First thing is under navigation, just make sure you've set it correctly. So do you want the learners to be able to skip chapters? And if you're delivering in an LMS, you probably want to click yes here to be able to get progress information displayed to the learner. The next thing is under tracking, deciding what you're going to track. Is it by questions, chapters, or a combination? And if it was by chapters, for instance, you'd put the percentage you expect the learner to be able to see or view before they pass. So you might want to change that to 80%, and then you'd save that and it will track that. If you've got an LMS, you're probably familiar with Scorm and you might want to deliver via Scorm. So you just literally go to Scorm, click on Generate Scorm File. It'll take a few moments, and then up here is a Scorm file you can download. You'll note it won't be that large because the video is not packaged in the Scorm file. It is hosted in AWS, and the Scorm file will call upon that in a very secure manner to enable you to be able to watch the video, but the bandwidth will not be taken up in your LMS. Secondly is LTI. LTI is also in an LMS. You go to LTI credentials, you add a new key, you call it whatever you want to call it, and then in your LMS you put the launch URL, the secret, and the key. Both those are extremely secure ways to deliver the training. The last way, and there's a couple of ways to do this, is the share option. Now by default it looks like this, which means it's not shareable. And we've got some choices here depending on how you want your learner to access the information and how secure you want the information to be. So the first thing is you click on shareable, and now it creates a link. This link can be sent to absolutely anybody, and it has no security at all. You also don't get any data about who did it. You only get the number of times it was launched. So it might tell you 50 launches. We don't know who that was. So then down here is the share link tracking, and there's a couple of options here. The most secure is the private registration, and there's two ways to do this. One is you can simply put the person's name and last name and email here and add them, and they'll be added to this list down here. You then click in here and click send notification email, and they will receive an email asking them to verify their email. Once they have done that, they can access the course. If you have trouble with spam or you're finding people are not able to do that process, back on the front page, the course has to have been made shareable by private registration. You can go into here and you can import the learners that you want to access this information. You can do that through a CSV, and you click on the course that you want them to be able to see. If you can't see your course in there, that means you have not made it available by private registration. And then once you've done that, the learner, you can send them the login details. So the login details will always be the URL, their email, and then every single person will have an email, a password generated. So for instance, if you were ABC company, you could upload 10 people, invite them to do this Royal Commission, and then you send them an email yourself saying, you've been invited to do this course. To access the login is you go to this URL, the username is your email, and the password is this. And that password would have been generated on this page for you to see. That takes away the process of the learner having to find the email and then having to register themselves. Both of those are highly secure. So what that means is only a person who you've added their name, first name, last name, and email can access that. And just to recap, they can access in two ways. One is if you've asked them to register themselves, or two is you've registered for them and let them know their login details. The last type is the public registration. Now, public registration is where it becomes a shareable link, but when the person views it, you send out the shareable link. There is a space where they have to put, which we haven't got set here, they've got to put in their first name, last name, and email address. And what happens is they will become registered in effect, but they have not validated their email address. So why do we do this? It might be a situation where you've got hundreds of people who you want to access the course, but you don't want to have to invite everybody. You're not quite sure who's going to do it. So it's not as secure, but still delivers the analytics. So you get their first name, last name, and if they've completed it. And in relation to analytics, if you're in an LMS, obviously you get them yourself. If you're in our system, you go over to here, and if you've just got one creator, that's the courses that person's created. You get a sense of the name of the course they did, if they registered, if they've started it, and if they've completed it. And you get some fairly detailed tracking data. If you're a larger organisation that has multiple users or multiple creators, you can go and see, if you're the admin person in VidVersity, the progress report of everybody in your organisation. Now, all of this analytics, when you're using our platform, can be downloaded as a CSV, and you get literally a spreadsheet telling you the name of the person, the name of the course, when they logged in, and have they completed it. So, bit of a recap. The first thing is you've got to decide what you're trying to deliver and how. If you've got an LMS, use Scorm or LTI and embed it in your system. If you do not have an LMS, use the share option. If it's the world to see, put it in here. If you want to make it by private registration, that is when you decide who sees it. So you put in the details of the person into VidVersity and only those people can access it. Or public registration is they will be invited to put in their first name, last name, and email. So there's not the security there, but there is the tracking and analytics for you. So some decisions to make, whether you want secure or whether you're delivering through an LMS, are sort of the key decisions that you have to make.